Attack on Titan is amazing at plot twists. While lots of shows have plot twists that either don't make sense or are really predictable or just don't add much to the story, Attack on Titan manages to hit you with surprise after surprise after surprise. From the walls being made of Titans, to Eren being able to control them, to humans being Titans all along. You never know where the story will go next, which makes it exciting, unpredictable, and creates so many awesome moments for the viewer. But that does beg the question, how can Attack on Titan do this so well? What is it doing that other shows aren't? And to answer this question, we first need to take a closer look at what a plot twist is. Now, when you're writing a good plot twist, you need to follow two rules. First, you need to make sure your story stays logical and consistent. Every scene should naturally build off the one before it, all important details should stay the same throughout the story, and everything should just make sense. But on the other hand, you also need to make your twist surprising. It should be something shocking and unexpected, and maybe even completely reframe the story that came before it. But it still can't break the first rule. And it's the fact that you have to do both of these things at the exact same time that makes writing plot twists so difficult. And it's part of the reason why there are so many bad ones out there. That said, one reason Attack on Titan's twists are so good is that they manage to do this freakishly well, almost every single time. Every twist feels surprising and important and natural all at once. And the fact that it's done several times throughout the entire show, while most shows can barely get it right once, is just insane. And I wanted to figure out how the writers did this. What is Attack on Titan's formula for writing plot twists? And after spending a while looking at how the writers set up each twist, I realized that each twist involves one of three different things. The first being when you start the show, you immediately start learning about the rules of the world it takes place in. That Titans are mindless, human-eating monsters, that the walls are the only things keeping humanity safe, that the scouts are a brave but kinda useless force, and so on. And the first few episodes reinforce these ideas. We see Titans eat people, we see the inner walls act as a refuge, we see the scouts get absolutely decimated. We also start learning things about our characters, like Eren's bloodlust for Titans, Armin's shyness, Mikasa's loyalty, and so on. And by the time we're a few episodes in, the show has already given us a lot of expectations for how this world should work, only to end up breaking all of them. The wall that's been keeping humanity safe for a century? Yep, that's actually made of Titans. The monsters that we've seen eat people over and over again? Wait, those actually are people. The guy that wants to wipe out all Titans? Oh wait, not only can he turn into one at will, but he may be one of the most powerful ones of all. In every case, it's taking a core expectation we have about the show and flipping it on its head, making us completely rethink the story we had beforehand, which is the main goal of a good plot twist. The next thing the show does with their plot twist is make them purposeful. A lot of writers will add plot twists just for the sake of shock or surprise, which can work, but it runs the risk of contradicting the story that came before it and just generally being bad. But Attack on Titan avoids this by making sure to use its plot twists strategically. You see, even though our expectations change many times throughout the show, the overall goal of characters stay the same: to find a way to end the Titan attacks and free humanity. The need to get a better understanding of the world is baked into the show itself. It is what motivates all of our main characters. So when a plot twist does happen, we're not just getting a random shocking moment, we're actually learning with the characters. These moments are used more like stepping stones in the story, a chance to further our understanding of the world and push the plot forward. On top of that, once a plot twist happens, a major part of the story then becomes understanding that plot twist and what led up to it. For example, when we learn that Titans are in the walls, finding out how they got there and why becomes one of the major plot points for the rest of the series, one that the show really makes sure to take its time fleshing out and building on, which helps you feel like the plot twist was actually important to the story. The end result of all this is that the audience ends up wanting to learn more. They want the next big reveal or secret or surprise so that they can better understand the world. And it's this aspect of Attack on Titan that makes it such a good show. I should also note that it does the same thing with smaller twists, like the female Titan and the Ackerman's guns. For example, from the very beginning of the show, all the Titans are shown as male. The show never specified it as a rule, and many people probably didn't even notice it at first, but that was the case. So when we saw the female Titan, it made it that much more interesting of a character, because it broke an expectation that we didn't even realize we might have had. And the same thing happens with Ackerman and his guns. There was never any rule that humans could only use blades with their ODM gear, but it's all we ever see at first, so it's all we expect. So when we see humans using guns with them, it catches us off guard and grabs our attention. In these cases, the twists are used to quickly bring attention to new characters. The fact that they are so different from what we've grown to expect subconsciously tells the viewer that something about these characters is important and that they should pay attention to them now, without having to explain why they're important up front. Okay, so far, we figured out how Attack on Titan balances the two rules of plot twist. It makes them shocking and interesting by defying our expectations, but still keeps them consistent with the story by using them strategically as a way to push the plot forward. However, there is still one more aspect to what makes its twist so good, and that is spacing. Even though just about every expectation we have in the show ends up getting subverted at some point, it doesn't all happen at once. If we got all these twists too quickly, that would leave us overwhelmed and confused and just ruin the story. Instead, they make sure to take their time and give us twists at a pace we can handle. For example, let's take the scene where we learn that Eren is a Titan. This is a major twist and one of the first times the show really challenges the expectations of its world. But it doesn't happen all at once. Instead, we get a gradual build-up of smaller twists leading up to it. First, we learn that there are more than one kind of Titan, that there's also abnormals, which don't follow the rules of a normal Titan. This makes it so that when we see one Titan attacking the others, something which completely breaks every expectation the show has set so far, we've already been given a reasonable explanation as to why this might be, that it's just another abnormal. And this does several things. First and foremost, it keeps the whole thing plausible and prevents it from seeming completely left field. Secondly, it allows the plot to move forward without having to take a pause to fully explain what's actually going on. And thirdly, while the main story continues, we get a few episodes just to process what this thing is. We watch it fight, understand what its goal is, see how it interacts with the main cast, and most importantly, we get the space to be curious about it. We get to wonder why it's doing what it's doing, where it came from, and so on, so that when it comes time to reveal that it was Eren all along, we already want the answer and are invested in whatever happens next. And like we mentioned before, once that plot twist is revealed, finding an explanation for it becomes a key part of the main story. And we get several episodes of the main characters trying to understand what's going on and learning new information, giving the viewer time to decompress and process what's going on, and giving the show time to gradually build up to the next twist. So, to sum up, the main reason writing plot twists is so difficult is because to do so, you need to balance the need to be both surprising and unpredictable, while also making sense and being consistent with the story. And while a lot of stories fail at doing this, Attack on Titan has mastered it using a pretty simple formula. 1. Make sure to give your audience expectations. Give them a pretty strong idea of where the story is going and what the rules of the world are, whether you explain it directly or just leave things implied. 2. Break those expectations in a way that moves the story forward. Give the audience the chance to learn with the characters and make the process of learning a central part of the plot. And finally, 3. Make sure you build up to those twists in a way that both allows the audience to get curious while also preventing them from getting lost and overwhelmed. Now, Attack on Titan not only shows us how to use this formula, but how messy the story can get when you deviate from it. For the first 3 seasons, the show follows this formula almost exactly, setting expectations, defying them in a way that pushes our characters toward their goal, and so on. All the actions each character makes lines up with what we know about them. All goals are clearly stated, and so on. But this all changes in Season 4 due to the time skip. Suddenly, we see the show make a pretty big deviation from its formula. Eren, who is all about saving as many lives as he can, and had an entire character arc about trusting his team, is now suddenly killing civilians en masse, manipulating his allies, and is just generally a completely different person. The first time we see Armin, the most gentle character in the main cast, is him committing mass murder on a horrific scale. And Jean is, well, Jean's still a prick. But the point is that everything changes really dramatically without a lot of context. And while everything does get nicely explained by the end, the path to getting those answers is a lot less smooth, and it becomes a lot easier to mess up the ending. So you have to make sure to be really careful if you decide to do something like this in your own stories. That said, that will be all for this video. I hope you enjoyed, and Merry Christmas.